The Chicago Bears had their first padded practice at Hallis Hall yesterday, and as many Bears fans know, we walked away with our first major offseason injury as Coby Bryant is going to be out 8 to 10 weeks with a knee injury. We'll talk a little bit about that. Plus, we're going to talk about the players that did stand out and the other takeaways from the first padded practice that are more on the positive side. We do got to bring in some positivity. And Ben Johnson talks about the hype around Luther Burden. Luther Burden seems like he is slotted in to be the wide receiver one. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this. What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Terell Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go into this content for today, y'all. And first padded practice yesterday, and of course, as many people know, we did have a breaking news episode on it as well yesterday. Coby Bryant went down with a knee injury, and it's unfortunate. He's going to miss 8 to 10 weeks, which put him at maybe returning by the end of September, beginning of October, which means he could miss upwards of 5 or 6 games for the Chicago Bears this season. And it's really unfortunate, especially for a team that, it's already had, secondary issues in last year, heavy secondary issues throughout the season last year. And so now finds himself in a spot as well where the Bears, Kyler Gordon still hasn't been 100%. Now Coby Bryant, one of our starting safeties, going down. And so it's getting a little tough, for the Chicago Bears. And just the secondary is such an important part of Dennis Allen's system and his scheme. And I think when people say that, people go to coverage sacks. That's not even what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about how he likes to actually line them up, as linebackers at times, how he likes to blitz some of them so they can get sacks, those type of things when you come into it. So, Coby Bryant was frustrated when he left the field. We know that he's been very motivated to come into this season and to prove what he can bring as a veteran for this team that's trying to develop, trying to turn into a Super Bowl contender themselves. He really carried that with a sense of urgency. And you need that. You need somebody who's going to help, change the tone and the way the team's talked about, the way that they prepare, and that brings that championship standard to a team. And so, that's what Coby Bryant was supposed to bring here. And that's what he was supposed to provide for this Bears team. And unfortunately now it looks like, he's going to have to wait a month of the season. But the benefit of it is that Cam Lewis, who's definitely going to step in there as now the new safety, starting safety after Coby Bryant goes down. Now he gets a month plus to practice like a starting safety. He gets a month plus to build that chemistry with Dillon Thieneman as a starting safety on this team. And so, I'm not saying it's a silver lining. Silver lining makes it sound like it's more positive than what it is, but it's just the reality of when you prepare to be a backup, you're prepared, for it's different. It's not the same. You need to come in, you need to change the momentum, you need to do those type of things. But when you're going in with the mentality of a starter, it means that you know exactly what you have to do from practice number one. You have to line up there, you have to be prepared, you have to be ready to go, you have to do all those type of things. And so now that puts the Bears in that position. It puts Cam Lewis in a position. Part of the reason the Bears signed Cam Lewis was because of the versatility that he has. And to play corner at the nickel, to play the safety position. And, it looks like now, even more so than before, he's going to get a lot of reps there. Right now, for what it's worth, Jaylon Jones has played a lot at the nickel right now, which means that, Cam Lewis, it seems like even if, the season started and Kyler Gordon wasn't healthy, they weren't planning on starting Cam at the nickel. But we're starting off with 2 major backups. They're going to have a major role on this team, and that's just what the reality is. Next man up mentality. It sucks to say, right, because these are people, and you want to keep that in mind, but you have to have that mentality as a team. You have to have the mentality of next man up so you can get some stuff done, and so we'll see what happens. But the Bears' secondary depth is being tested. We just talked about Cam Lewis and his important there. Jaylon Jones rotating in as a nickel with the starters also, right? And, it's going to put pressure on a veteran like Cam Lewis. And even may mean that somebody like Malik Muhammad, the rookie, is going to have to be ready even earlier, which could make some bumps and bruises out there. He's going to get targeted. We'll see what Terell Smith does as well. He's returning from injury also. Keep in mind Elijah Hicks Another backup safety is already on the physically unable to perform list. So the injuries are starting to stack up in the secondary. There's no doubt about that. But, the Bears will find a way. They always seem to find a way. And that next man up mentality is important. It's important for teams that want to win at a high level. So we'll see. Outside of that, Kyle Monangai also returned to practice. One of the good pieces of news, which was funny because right before practice started, Ben Johnson announced that it was a soft tissue injury that he was dealing with, and they were going to take it day by day. But then he turned around and was out there by practice. He was fully padded up and ready to go, and so that's good. Like he's so now he gets to have this ramp up period leading into the preseason. He didn't miss that much time, and Kyle Monangai is a guy that I said I want to see how many running back one traits that he flashes this season, right? What's the next step for Kyle Monangai? Because just like Colston Loveland and Luther Burden, they're both expected to take their game another step further than what they even showed as rookies. Kyle Monangai's right there. He had a really strong rookie season, being the running back 2, splitting that backfield with DeAndre Swift. The one game that we had to rely on him to be a starter, he performed really well in. And by saying how many running back one traits that he shows, I'm not saying that he needs to come in here and steal the running back 1 position from DeAndre Swift, but just how much of that when you have to rely on him, and how many of that does he show? What's the growth is basically what I mean. How much has he grown as a rookie to right now? So Kyle Monangai out there healthy, important, because this Bears running attack is going to have to be the backbone of this offense for a lot of ways. Not to say that Caleb Williams and the wide receivers aren't going to be electric and stuff like that, but you need to establish your run. And that's something that the Bears kind of got away from sometimes at points last season, is they didn't establish the run as early and as consistently as what I would have wanted to see. So, hopefully that comes a little bit more consistently this year for them, and we'll see how much further that they can take it. But it's a huge step in the right direction for them to get that done, and we'll see what they do with it. So overall, getting Kyle Monangai out there healthy and getting this running back so they can start preparing, because I want to see this running attack take it even a step further. We had the third, I think, best rushing attack in football last year, and that was with Kyle Monangai really being in the game plan for the first month to month and a half of the season. Let's go out here and get this done from day one and see what we can do with it. And I think a lot of Bears fans will be surprised. Luther Burden also is somebody that stood out in yesterday's practice as well. The Bear Report had this to say in regards to it. The Luther Burden hype is real. He had a few tough catches down the sideline today, and it's a clear front runner to be the wide receiver 1. With DJ Moore departing this offseason, the expectation is that Adonze would step into the role, and while he's impressing this offseason, Burden will likely make it a competition as he continues to shine. We'll get a little bit more into Luther Burden as we got some quotes on Luther Burden, but I'll just say this. I'm happy. Again, I'm not in this case of playing Luther Burden versus Rome Odunze, because guess what? You need both of them. It'd be different if it was a 1 wide receiver game. Guess what? You need 3 of them. You need 3 wide receivers that can all do varying things. So even if Luther Burden is the wide receiver 1, great. That doesn't mean that you overlook Rome Odunze, who's also reportedly so far through training camp had an electric training camp. But Luther does seem like he's him. He really does have some of those him traits that you look at in a player. And Luther just seems like a player that is going to come out here and is going to really attack this season. And then he saw how strongly he ended last season. If you put if you extrapolate out the last 7 weeks for Luther Burden over a full season, you're talking about almost a 1,300 receiving year. Now, it's going to be a little bit different here because, we're hearing good things about the wide receiver 3s, which we'll talk about. And, of course, Rome, hopefully, and Colston Loveland is going to catch a lot of passes too. But, regardless of how the yardage works out, the fact that we're going to have this versatile group, Luther Burden is going to be one of the guys at the head of that. And the yards after the catch for Luther Burden, that's the thing I can't wait to see this season. Because if you catch Luther Burden in the open field, man, that is such a nightmare scenario for opposing defenses, because his size, his speed, his ability, once he does get possession, to be a possession receiver also, all those things are there. And, I talk a lot about Colston Loveland's route running. Luther Burden's right there too. And that's something that I need to get better at, because I highlight the route running of Colston Loveland because he's a tight end. And you don't even expect sometimes receiving tight ends to have the advanced route running that Colston Loveland has. But let's not overlook, Luther Burden is one of the best route runners on this team too. And to have that then as your wide receiver 1, if he ends up winning that job, it's going to alleviate the pressure off your 3s and your 2s and your tight ends and your Sam Roush's and those guys. So, Luther is a key to this. And the chemistry between Caleb Williams and Luther Burden has been stronger than what has been between Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams so far. Now, you're hoping that with this year, you're going to get those chemistry on the same page with everybody. But the chemistry that Luther has built with Caleb Williams at, just 1 year and 1 offseason has been great to see. And now they get to take it a step further this season and make it to the next step. So hearing that Luther Burden has had a good first padded practice and continues to have a really good training camp is good to hear. Next up, Braxton Jones. Braxton Jones played with the starters again. And as I've said many times before, this is Braxton Jones' road to lose. Now, when we talk about the standouts, Jedrick Wills was a standout in yesterday's practice also, and that's good to see there, right? That's good to see. Make no mistake about it. But Braxton seems very motivated in this season. And, we've heard things like he's in the best shape of his career. He's not dealing with any injuries and those type of things. And so, it's good to see in regards to that one. So now that the pads are on, we're going to really get to see this is where your trenches really start getting a place to shine. When you don't have pads on, that's built for your skill position players to really stand up and shine in those situations. Now that you are with the pads on, that's when we're going to start hearing about the D-line. That's when we're going to start hearing about the offensive line. That's when we're going to start hearing about the linebackers and stuff like that. So, you want to hear that growth in those areas. But Braxton, hey, for what it's worth, Braxton's doing what he needs to do. And I think that that's really where I can leave that at. He's taking care of the business that he needs to take care of. And that's really all that matters in this is he doing what needs to be done? And if he is doing what needs to be done, then great, right? And you still want that depth behind him. That is why Theo Benedict and Jedrick Wills are still very important to this team, even if Braxton does win the starting left tackle position, because you still need depth. Because there's going to be some games out there where Braxton, the bull rush is just too much, and now you need somebody who can come in and handle that. And Theo Benedict and Jedrick Wills can handle that a little bit better, right? So it's about balance. We don't have Ozzie Trapillo this season, who is the clear-cut left tackle when he's healthy. And so because we don't have that, you need other players to step up in other ways. You need to do it through depth, because if you had somebody that can just one-to-one replace Ozzie Trapillo, then they'd be the starting left tackle, right? And Ozzie, it wouldn't be such a big deficit to lose Ozzie. So you have to replace that through the committee. I think the Bears have a good chance to get that done through the different looks they can throw out there at left tackle. Next up, Sam Roush is already being used in the passing game, which I think is a huge benefit to this team right now. When you look at Cole Kmet, Colston Loveland, and Sam Roush, you have guys that, as much as I, like and others, talk about Colston Loveland and his impact on the receiving game, make no mistake about it, Colston Loveland is also a really good blocker. I think if I'm not mistaken, a better run blocker than pass blocker. Somebody fact check me on that one. Cole Kmet's a really good pass blocker. And then you have Sam Roush, who, people said it. Like, oh, he's a blocking tight end. We spent a draft pick on a blocking tight end. And I said it then. You can go back and look. This isn't hindsight or revisionist history. I said it then after I went back and looked at not only the stats, but some of the tape from Sam Roush. I'm like, Sam Roush is in no way just a blocking tight end. This is a guy that absolutely can be utilized in the passing game. And to hear that Ben Johnson is already trusting him to do that early on, I think it's going to be a factor as the season goes on. We know that Ben Johnson, based off what we've seen here, he's slow to throw a lot of trust on rookies right away, even if they do flash some things in training camp. But I think as the season goes on, and as you want to alleviate some snaps on Colston Loveland or Cole Kmet, or you want to explore the 13-man personnel, or you want to confuse defenses, Sam Roush's snap count is going to go out as the season goes on, and you're going to see a really big impact from him in those areas. So look at Sam Roush. The fact that Ben Johnson already seemingly is trusting him and really looking at him hard in some areas, like, I think that's a good sign. I think that's a sign that everything's kind of going in the right direction that it needs to do. And so with him shining in that department on Monday and reportedly earlier in camp, do not be surprised if by the end of the season, Sam Roush is a lot bigger of a factor in the Bears' offense than maybe what people initially thought when we drafted him. And I know people are going to say the thing about Cole Kmet and let's trade him and all that type of stuff. But you guys know, my mindset has always been this, and it's with every position. It's okay to operate from a position of strength at certain positions. And what the tight end, being able to have two really still good blocking and pass catching tight ends in Sam Roush and Cole Kmet, that frees you up to use Colston Loveland as a slot, right? That frees you up to overload one side of the football and still go to one of those guys. So it's gonna be a big schematic thing, and it really could be that chess piece that Ben Johnson likes to move around that causes some of that, that imbalance there. And so we'll see, right? And then the last kind of takeaway that everybody said is that Ryan Poles reportedly was really out there and spent a lot of time watching the defensive line on Monday's padded practice. And, we know that the Bears are hoping from internal development on that defensive line with Austin Booker, also with Javon Dexter as he continues to develop, and then still looking at guys like what can Dayo Odeyingbo bring now that he's back motivated, and you're going to be using him more on the interior, right? Shamar Turner's moving to the edge and going to play edge a little bit more. We've heard that. We've heard these things. Also, Neva Gallimore, and those guys that you've brought in at depth. So Ryan Poles watching that closely is important because, like I said this, like Ryan Poles and this team has shown itself many times before is that while they have confidence in internal development and stuff like that coming into training camp, if for some reason they don't feel comfortable, and if the coaching staff goes to if they go to Ryan Poles and says, listen, we were hoping that some of these guys made a leap or a step. We don't feel comfortable that they have. We need some veteran depth here at that edge, or if we're just not confident in these guys at all. We've seen that happen before, and then Ryan Poles turn around and go out and get a guy, right? So hopefully that happens. Hopefully it's not needed. But Ryan Poles being out there, watching the defensive line closely, working closely with Dennis Allen and the defensive line coach is going to be important because you need to have that living conversation. You need to have that input because, listen, I've said it before. The Bears don't have to have a top 10 pass rush to be even a Super Bowl team. You don't have to have that, but you do have to have a pass rush that can be consistent. It can't be at the bottom of the league. You can get away with being around the middle of the league if you're elite in other places, but you have to improve that pass rush, and so hopefully that happens. But then let's talk about the standouts, right? I said I was going to talk specifically about some standouts in yesterday's practice. Jedrick Wills definitely stood out yesterday. According to Clay Harbor, he said this: Wills showed impressive technique with good hands while working during one-on-one drills. He also noted that in one particular rep, Wills pushed Jamari Chroma all the way back in regards to that. And then also Ben Johnson praised Wills for having a good start to camp prior to practice as well. So listen, I kind of came into this thinking that if Jedrick Wills was 100% healthy, he was probably going to win the starting left tackle position. Even if he doesn't win it, having his presence out there and that consistency of what he showed, even if he's 80% of what he showed when he was at his most healthy, that's a player that absolutely helps on that left tackle position a lot, right? So you need that for this team. And so hearing that Jedrick Wills was one of the standouts in the first pad of practice, that's exactly what you want to hear. That means that he's ahead of schedule. That means that he's providing some depth for this team. And, this is a guy who signed a 1-year vet minimum contract. It's not like the Bears paid him a whole lot. This is kind of a prove-it year for Jedrick Wills. Now, he can shine in this season and move on and go sign and be a starter somewhere else at the end of the season, or the Bears could be looking at Jedrick Wills to be the permanent backup to Taji Trapillo. If he's willing to come in here and take that, like imagine having Jedrick Wills and Theo Benedict as your backup tackles. That's really good production that you can have from those guys. And if I'm not mistaken, Wills also played some guard, I think, at points in his career also. So, having him around could very well benefit. So, hearing that Jedrick Wills stood out in practice yesterday, really good. Next up, Jahdae Walker. I know a lot of people have been waiting to hear this one. Greg Braggs of CHGO said this: Walker came away with a nice grab across the middle with good coverage on him. Walker also easily beat Jaylon Jones during one-on-ones with a deep catch over his outside shoulder. It's been a solid camp so far for the second-year wideout who hopes to play a bigger role in the offense this season. Jahdae Walker gained a really big fan base in the Chicago Bears last year, right? Now, do I think some of it's a bit overstated? Yeah, but that happens. It's okay to get excited about your guys. And Bears fans are excited about Jahdae Walker and what he showed last year, especially when we had to rely on him. And, the wide receiver 3 position has so much talent for what that position needs between him, Xavier Thomas, and Khalif Raymond as being the vet that just knows the system. That's really going to be important to continue to see that develop. So hearing that Jahdae Walker has shined in the first pad of practice, watch out for this kid because a lot of you guys have told us to watch out for him and that you expect big things from him this season. And let's hope that continues. But then the other guy, Xavier Thomas, also was a standout in practice yesterday as well. Clay Harbor noted this about Xavier Thomas. Looks like more than just a gadget player. In this offense, with how he can run his routes, during one-on-ones, Thomas blazed past cornerback Terell Smith for an easy score. This comes one practice after he scored a touchdown in wet conditions from quarterback Tyson Bagent. Thomas is making a strong first impression. Love to hear that. That more than just a gadget player, right? For when we drafted Xavier Thomas, so many people went back to the trauma of Velus Jones. And I understand that, right? But it's up to Xavier to prove that he's more than just speed. But it sounds like whether through the return game and through what he's doing as a receiver in practice, he's showing that it's more than just speed, that this is a guy that actually has skills as a wide receiver, as a kick returner. That's going to be important for this Bears team. So hearing that Xavier Thomas is already impressing, as they're continuing to impress, because when we were going through OTAs, every single day he did something to impress. Let's hope. But much like I said with Sam Roush, I do think that there could be a little bit of a gap between when Ben Johnson really trusts him, because based off of him being a rookie, but with him also being in the punt return game, going to kind of have to trust him. He's going to get an opportunity to show a lot early on. and let's see what he can do in that regard. So those are the three standouts from practice yesterday. And I want to get into this quote as we end the show with Ben Johnson on Luther Burden. He said this: "It's a credit to him and how he's attacked the building ever since he's got here. He's done a phenomenal job. He's extremely motivated. He wants to be the best, and you see the competitive nature come out every time he hits the grass. We're just looking to expand his route tree now. We're putting him all over the place. He's inside, he's outside. We put pads on today, and we want to see the run blocking come out. He's a big part of that as well. He's fearless, whether he's running inside the numbers or he's got the deep ball ability as well. I think he's a little bit of everything, and I think it's coming together nicely." Look out for Luther Burden this season. If you are buying stock in a Bears player, buy stock in Luther Burden, because this kid, all the people that we respect are saying the same thing about Luther Burden. He's looking like one of them one. And let's see what that means. But that's going to do it for today's episode, y'all. Make sure you guys sound off in the comment section down below if you're in the YouTube side. I want to hear how you guys feel about everything from training camp, the first padded practice, everything, the injury, everything. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. You can follow us at Shy Bear Central on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, chicagobearcentral@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We're the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.